What is up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Rundown with Silva. My name is Tyler Silva, and today I am joined by a good friend of mine who I've not seen in too long. Give it for my boy James from fuck bitch.
First Front, don't worry about it.
From First Front. We just had this conversation. How I was like, I kept wanting to say First Act. We were just
Would you believe for the first 2 months of the band, I kept trying to say that as we're practicing, and it never came out right. It was first Flack, first whatever, First Front worked.
It's one of those things that you say, you're like, First Front, First Front. All right, you guys ready?
Yep.
What's up? We're First Act.
Yep.
But James from First Front, everybody, welcome, dude. Good to see you, bro.
Yeah, you too, my friend. It's been a long time, and not one that shouldn't come sooner.
Yeah, I'm stoked that you're back in Arizona. How cool is that?
It's a trip, my friend. So there's bittersweet because I love the ocean. It's my best friend. But you know what? I love fucking music too. I love music. Doing this, I've not been so happy. My wife sees an aura in me. So coming back to Arizona, getting back into the thing I love to do is amazing.
That's awesome, man. So I when we met, you were playing in Becoming Legends.
Yeah. Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that lineup? And I loved that band. Can you give us a little background on when you were playing with Becoming Legends and everyone in the band?
Oh yeah. So we had Benny, we had Jared. Jared was kind of like the guy that came in and tried out. He's the only member that actually tried out. And we just kind of liked him. We're like, oh, we're gonna go with this. But Benny, me, Marty, and then Aaron, Aaron really wanted to play music with me. And that's been a constant for me is Aaron's in so many cool things and he's a very dear brother to me and he's been in so much good things. And after I watched him play in a couple bands, I was like, I want to play in a band with you. And he's like, I want to play in a band with you. And I was like, no way. He's all, yeah. I was like, well, Benny wants to play in a band with me too. He's like, no way. And Benny is the most underrated best guitarist in Arizona. He is great. So good.
He's fantastic.
Dude, it's something different to play with him and his energy and the way that he moves. It's a lot of fun. And then Marty comes along from Lightspeed Go. He's like, hey, you want to play in a band with me?
Shout out Lightspeed Go.
What? Dude, we have a great lineup here. Let's make this happen. So it started, and that's how that came together. And that was all connections from Catch the Fire, of course, and that passed. But it was so incredible to get to play with all these great musicians at one time. And I was like, I felt so blessed.
Such a high energy lineup too. When you guys played, everyone was playing with top energy. Everybody. And
yeah, you kind of had to.
Yeah, so much movement going around in this band, and so many awesome riffs and just constant speed, and it was so much fun, man. I really do miss seeing that lineup.
And that is not something that's past me. You got to put a few pieces into place, but that is something I definitely want to revisit 100%.
I think
it was too killer of a lineup to let that go.
Yeah, absolutely. No, super, super fun time. We got the chance to take the stage with you guys, at least a handful. I know we got to play with you guys at Starlight, at Yucca. We played with you at all sorts of places.
Yeah, Yucca, Starlight, and what's the other one? It's right across the street from Yucca. It's
Timeout Lounge.
Timeout Lounge.
Yeah.
And it was a blast.
Yeah, dude, it really was, man. It was an era that I didn't want to see end, I guess. I mean, not that it's over, but it does always hurt a little bit to see it go on such a hiatus, you know?
Yeah, for real. And it's tough too. When any musician has to step away to get back into their own life and really do the things they need to do to make themselves successful, it's always a tough challenge. And the whole scene is affected by it.
Oh, absolutely. Would you say that's the spot that you were in? I know you moved to California.
Yeah, dude, I just had to my personal era had came to a close there. I had to get away from the things that was repetitive and go do something new. So I have a big love for California. I love there, and the ocean is my best friend. And me and the wife moved there on a whim. Nobody said we'd make it. We did it. And then, my kids needed me back here. And so we came back. This is exactly how that happened. There was no need for music or anything like that. It just my kids needed me here, so I came back. And then music reached out to me again, and I didn't realize how much I needed music too.
Yeah, I feel
that's an unfortunate part. You don't know what you need until it's gone.
Dude, and huge reason I started the podcast too, because I just miss talking to musicians like you and things like that. When the pandemic happened and all, like, there were no shows, I needed to do something to keep my sanity, for sure.
Right, man. We go out to these shows and we just have great conversations and talk, and like it ends up becoming good friendships after a time. Like it's not going to gradually overnight happen, but like, a few shows in, you start meeting the same people, you start learning about them, and it becomes like, oh my god, I can relate to your story. This is why kind of we're in the scene that we're in, because we can relate to one another.
There is something really special about, like, instead of going to a bar, you go to a show to watch a performance and everyone knows your name. You know what I mean? It's not just like the local bar that you always go and get wasted to. Like, these are people that you work with, you know? Rather, you're pushing each other, putting each other on lineups, you know? It's such a cool fucking community that we have out here.
You know what? It took me a long time to learn that. That's a fault of mine growing up. So we'll step back a little bit, and like, so the age era, I'm a little bit before a lot of the newer age, because I've been in the scene for 20 years.
Oh, wow.
I was here when Authority was coming up with Redfield and Krovac and like really old school good bands from Arizona. I was here when Jimmy Eat World kicked off the ground. Like I was at one of the local shows in a pizza pub with them.
That's so cool.
So like I'm in that old school era, and I didn't mean to be that way. I just kind of grew up really fast. And we skipped a couple partials when it came to that. Like with the new generation, we forgot about like our roots a little bit, and then we started getting back to it. And I think the scene has been growing the past, like, I'm gonna say like 10 to 12 years, just to cover most the bands that have been really putting a stamp in the scene. They've been bringing local music back, and we get a little hatred towards that sometimes when somebody grows in success, especially when they're taking really good shows that you feel you had a shot at.
Yeah.
And that's a tough one. And you grow as a band, and eventually you're like, oh my god, I'm glad to get on this show. I'm glad you start respecting the places that you're put in and the things that you've strived for and worked for. And that's a big thing here, is like the community, it has been coming together to make better shows. And lately it's been even better, dude. I'm seeing some local bands out of nowhere get on really great shows, and they're a good fit. I love a show with a good fit.
Oh,
And there's
yeah.
been a lot of good fitting lately.
Oh, excuse me. Yeah, the last time I got to see, which I hadn't seen in a while just because of how the last years have been with music, but I got to see Mad Dog Tannen not that long ago, and like watching. I mean, I had watched Mad Dog Tannen a handful of times and played with them over the years, and they're really good homies. This last time I saw them was just such a level up with whatever they're doing. Sometimes, like, you just know, like, you watch these people around you grow as musicians and as a band, and they make changes, and a lot of bands go through lineup changes and whatnot, but whatever Mad Dog Tannen is doing right now is like ridiculous. It's a huge level up. I was sitting with fucking Chris from FOL watching them play, and we were like just looking at each other like, dude, this is like a huge level up. They've always been good and they've always been fantastic. This was something different the last time I saw him at Yucca. It was a new Mad Dog Tannen that just hit me so hard. I loved it.
Dude, that's heartfelt to hear, because so I think it was like 4 years ago, 5 years ago. It was a little bit long ago. It was like at least it's 6 to 8 years ago now. So Mad Dog Tanner and Catch the Fire got to play with Authority for the drop, the New Year's Eve drop.
Oh, very cool.
So we were the people that were competing against one another to get that slot, and Mad Dog Tannen stepped it the fuck up and won us out.
They're great.
They beat us to the show, and they deserved it. And I went to the show too, and they were phenomenal. And I was like, man, I hope to see them again. And so it's been a couple of years. We've all been going through restructuring and things like that. And like they came out, like I think it was about 2 or 3 months ago, they started playing actively again. And I went and watched them, and I was like, oh, this is the reason they got this.
Yeah.
And
Dude,
they're such a success, and I really appreciate what they've done for our scene, because they've actually they're an underdog in my eyes. They've done a lot for our scene that not a lot of people understand.
when Rundown was coming up, we played a handful of shows with them. They kept helping get us shows, and we played with them a lot at the deli over here on the west side. They're West Siders, just like Rundown was. and there aren't a whole lot of venues up there. So it was really cool for them to just be throwing us on these West Side shows and these places that I've never heard of.
Right?
It was just such camaraderie, such camaraderie. I loved it. But those guys are killing it right now. Who else have we seen? I mean, I've just been seeing Morgan's Bluff has been killing it. They're awesome to see. Uh, FOL, they're still going at it. They're hitting the paint super hard right now. TV Tragedy dropped
Yeah, dude.
an
Where the fuck did they
absolute
come
banger.
from?
Dude, absolute banger of an album this last summer.
Dude,
Insane.
they came out of nowhere. They surprised the shit out of me for our local scene. Like I was like, oh, okay, I like this.
Yeah. They we got with Squared, we got a chance to play with them for their album release in Lake Havasu and down here at in Tempe at Yucca. And when we played with them at Lake Havasu, my first time, seeing them as a whole with Chris playing drums and whatnot, dude, they blew me the fuck away. We were like, get the fuck, and they're me and Gio were just looking at each other like, this band is gonna fucking do things. It's incredible.
That's always a thing. Like you can see when a band's like, okay, so as long as you don't collapse on yourself, let's go. That's the thing with us, man. That's the thing with bands. It's our community. It's like we collapse on ourselves sometimes, and we don't mean to. It just happens. That's the truth of becoming legends. We kind of collapsed on ourselves. We just had a lot of family and things that we wanted to do, and they just didn't meet. So we just had to kind of go our separate ways. And that was before I even moved to California. That was the nail in the coffin for me to move to California.
Is it hard? Because what is that? A band of like 5 guys? You got a pretty big
Yeah,
lineup, right?
it's 5. Yeah, we have 5 now too.
That's got to be tough.
Schedules are tough. That's all it is. Adulting is tough because you have to have 5 adults meet at a certain time, someplace, and take 2 to 3 to 5 hours out of their time to do a thing that they're passionate about.
Yeah.
Whew. That's a tall ask for any adult ass person.
I think it's even like a tall act too, to just meet up and write. Meet up
Oh
and
yeah.
make sure you guys are in a creative mindset to make something completely new and unique.
It's hard, and I'm so lucky to be in the position I am for this new stuff. I'm very lucky and fortunate. Um, I've came into it, and I did put in work for this. It's not like I got it given to me. No, by any means, that's not the case. But I put in a lot of work, and then it's something I wanted to do. And I'm telling you, like there's almost no other band that I would play for outside of being in what I'm in now.
Can you tell us a little bit how you got on board with these guys?
Oh, Raphael, my friend. Outside of Benny, he is one of the most talented guitarists I've ever seen play
Let's
in my
step
life.
back a little bit. Can you give us this lineup of this band and give us the band
So
name of
it's
this?
it's Raph, it's Nick, it's John, it's Josh, and myself. Bass. Josh is bass, and he's really good, man. Holy crap. We're all older musicians, so he's been in this business about 13 years. And if I get their years wrong, my bad, guys. Suck one. John has been doing this like 20 years, dude. He is one of the most professional guitarists I've ever seen in my life. He's crazy good, like wild up there with Bad Religion good. Like it's just good. And then we got Nick on drums, which is he's toured before with a bunch of other bands. He was more metalcore before, but now he's stepping it down a little bit. Thank you. And he loves doing what he's doing right now. He's having a good time playing drums. And then we got Raph, and there is no other musician out there that I appreciate more than this guy. This guy puts in work. Like when he finds something that he's driven for, he puts that work. And I sent him something 3 months before I left for California. I was like, hey, this is like what I would decide your direction of the band. If I was in your band, this is the way I would like it. Just here's a video. It doesn't mean much because I'm leaving, but here you go. But that put me on his radar because, sometimes you use a safeguard, and I did. And sure enough, 3 years later, I told him, hey, I'm coming back to Arizona. My kids want me there. We're gonna move back. I'm moving to Tucson though, so there's going to be some compromise. And he's like, okay, he sent me a new demo, and I sent him a new demo, and he sent it to the band. And they were like, oh, we got to get this guy in here. And at first they were like, hey, he's a little sketchy. He's coming from Tucson. But then he's like, he played it again for him. And they were like, okay, this is the direction we want to go. This guy's got the energy to do this. So the first, I was in town 2 weeks. And you could imagine my wife, like in town 2 weeks. I went to practice from Tucson to Phoenix, and it was like a 3-hour tryout for the band.
Oh, wow.
She's like, we just moved here. What are you doing? I was like, I believe in this. It's got something new. It's got a different hook. It's got what I want to do. It's going to be tough. So I went in, and I didn't hear back for a couple weeks because I knew they had a couple other candidates, and they did. And, they came in and left, and Raf's like, come back and play again. Just continue it. And I did. I came back and I started, and it took me about like 3 months or 4 months into it before I asked the band. I was like, hey, am I in this band? Or we still trying people out, or what are we doing? And they're like, dude, you're in.
Wow.
And so we've been practicing. We're coming up on our 9th month practice with me there. This band has been together 3.5 years before me.
Oh, wow.
They've been looking for somebody for 3.5 years, and they finally landed me, and I'm privileged to play with them. I'm not kidding with that. These guys are so good. They're all so tight. They practice so hard. They argue in the ways that a musician should. It's so cool to watch their process, and I just get to be a part of it now. And I'm not a tag along. I'm in the band, and I feel a part of the process, and they like it because I bring a dynamic of like different leadership and stuff like that. And it's tough to take in at first, but like I'm that guy now, and everybody's getting along really well, and it's working into really stunning music. Like it's tough to do this stuff. I know why they had so many tryouts, because it's tough to do, and I just met the build, I guess.
That's awesome, dude. When I remember when I joined Squared, there was just this period of me finding my own little my own little nook
Rhythm.
in this band. Learning a lot of the songs, and then it comes to me and Gio and the other guys, writing together. Are you starting to like? Where are you right now? Are you just like really finding your niche in this band and your role? And do you see yourself growing with these guys? What do you want this to look like, and how is it going right now?
So right now, we've decided to go ahead and take our step back and make sure that we record our next 3 songs. I swear, we have at least 6 demos that we could just put out on the internet. It'd be fine. It would do great. But it's not enough. And I've never been with a band that it's not enough. I've always been with the bands that like, okay, this is good. Becoming Legends was a little bit step forward with that. They wanted to go record with an amazing producer, and we did. We got 2 songs out that was great. It was well produced. It was good. This is different. This is going to take somebody that knows what the hell they're doing. And I'm not kidding. They have to know what they're doing, because the guys in my band know what they're doing. So they're going to settle for nothing less than great. And I want to be a part of that. You know how often that comes along where everybody just wants to be a part of something great, not good, not mediocre, great.
Yeah.
And that excites me. It makes me want to be a better singer. And I'll tell you what, this show, I'm going to prove that I'm a better singer than I was 5 years ago when I last stepped off that stage. I'm going to show how much I've grown, how much I've gained. And that attributes to a lot of Raph too. When I came back, he showed me, he's like, dude, you can sing better than that. And I was settling for what I do. And he's like, dude, you can sing better. And he kept pushing and pushing and pushing. And after we started recording the demos, I was like, oh, I can push. I can get better. And that sparked something in me. It created a monster, if you will. And now I'm getting better and better, and I'm pushing. And that's the best part about it, is I'm pushing.
I think between our bands, so we get to play together this weekend, which is awesome. So this Friday, you can catch us at Yucca. It's going to be First Front, Squared, Chaser, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Chaser and Guttermouth. So this is a really, really awesome show to kick off the new year, if you ask
Right?
me. And it's something we've really been looking forward to. Since we've been able to just really start hopping back on stages, I think in June, really. June is when we really just hit the ground running. They're letting people in. You have to have a negative test. You have to be vaccinated. Whatever it is, there's music again, and it's felt really, really good to be back on stage. And when you get to a show like this, you're like it. You want to prove yourself so much to show how hard we've been grinding. And I'm excited, man. I'm super, super stoked to just see how this pans out. And I'm really excited to see what you guys got. Like, oh, I can't wait.
So there, and just take a little count note. I've been doing this for a long time. You have too. We both been in the scene doing shows. How often is it that you get a band that comes out the gate to get a national headline tour with only 4 bands on it? Somebody's got to have a lot of trust in your band to come out and be badass. Like, no joke. You have to be good to come out the gate. You have to sell tickets. You have to do the thing, but you have to show up and play.
Yeah.
None of the ticket sales matter. You have to show up and show all the work that you've met for like the past few bands and things like that have come to this, and now we're doing this.
Absolutely. And I think we owe it to great people like Ben from Yucca Tap Room,
Yep.
who not only like puts the time and effort into making all of these shows happen, but taking the time to know us and know our audience. And there's no one better at putting these lineups together than him.
No, man, Ben nailed it on this. He's like, hey, I got something for you. And he asked me, he's like, before he even put it out, he's like, do you want this? And I was like, well, yeah. He's all, you going to do it? And I was like, yep. And he's like, okay, you're on it. He's all, the second band's going to be Squared. I was like, oh shit, there's my homies from Payson. Let's go.
So awesome.
So as soon as I heard that, I was like, well, how many bands are on this? He's all, oh, 4. And I was like,
yeah, so it's us, dude.
It scared me a little bit because you got people coming to the show that expect a show.
Yeah.
And they only have 4 bands to do it. It's usually 5 to 6. It really is usually a 5 to 6 show with a national headliner. And the first few bands are like 20-minute sets. That's usually how that goes. But no, Ben's like, hey, you got 30 minutes worth of material? I was all, yep. He's all, I've heard your music. Here you go. And I was like, oh, I'm going to tell my band. And they were like, what? I'm like, yeah, dude, this is what we got. And then Ben's like, yeah, you're solidified. You got it. You're good. And it was shocking to my band, and it was shocking to myself as well. It's hard to get that, and I appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. Like, just to circle back, this community is fucking awesome.
Yep.
This community really cares about each other too. Kind of to circle back where you're talking about how, we see people getting these shows that you think you deserve, but you're also so stoked for them. This scene has a really, really good way of swallowing their pride and being stoked for their homies.
Yeah.
You very rarely see anyone so salty about people succeeding. And
yeah, it's true.
Yeah, it's a trait that I don't want to have. I catch myself sometimes. Like, of course I'm going to be a little bit jelly of the people landing this show, but they put the work in, and I know I just need to put more in if I want to do things like that. They deserved it.
We often forget about how much grind some of the band members go through to make those relationships, because we usually balance it to the band themselves, but sometimes it's not about the band themselves. Sometimes the individuals inside that band put in a lot of work before they got to where they're at now.
Absolutely.
And that's how I feel this happened, is it wasn't because all the band work that I've done, because nobody knows who the hell we are. If it comes down to that, nobody cares. But when we put on a good show, we're going to show why we're here and where we're at. I don't think there's ever been a time where I've put on a bad show, ever. I will always make sure it's very entertaining and fun to go to, and humbled and appreciated and fan loved, because that's how you do those shows, is you show the appreciation to the people that show up and come to see you. even if they didn't come to see you, you want to appreciate that because, like, oh my goodness, they could learn new music that they've never known that they've loved, and that's happened to me constantly in our scene. Is there's bands that like I go see, I go show up to the show early, and I get there and I'm like, oh my god, these guys are awesome. I seen Rundown Roommates because of that. I showed up to a big show one time really early, and I was like, oh, look at this little guy. Oh, that's awesome. And it just turned into a love. I was like, holy mackerel, this is awesome.
Dude, I can.
That's how that goes.
It is, man, and the same thing with becoming legends. I mean, I already known Aaron so well because Rundown's first shows were with FOL, so we played most of our first shows, our first years with FOL, almost on every bill. So when I heard is he was in Becoming Legends, and he told me about the project and whatnot, and I actually got to see it firsthand. And I was like, "Get the fuck out of here! Like, this is what I'm talking about. This is the energy. This is the love. So much fun stuff. Like, and even if we are not doing like if I'm not doing things like that in Rundown, I need to bring that to every other project I'm a part of. You know,
Yeah.
and I don't know if it's a struggle, but it's a huge reminder.
It's that love of music, man. I'm telling you, like, it's one of those things that you feel in your freaking bones. It's like, no matter what project I'm coming at, I'm just gonna go at it full heart. And I'm telling you, this is like gonna be one of the last projects I put everything into. I am dire try on this one because you're coming up on 40 years old. What are you gonna do next? Cover bands is pretty much my next step.
Don't say that.
But I don't think I've given up yet on music, and I thought I did. 5 years ago, I would have told you I given up on like doing something because like Becoming Legends and I put a lot of effort into that. I brought together people that I thought could really do a thing, and just life said something different. But then I found this, and I always said is if Raph offers me like a position in something and it's really cool, I'm gonna take it. And that's what he sent me. And then like I was like, oh, I want this. Dude, I'm coming back to Arizona. I want this. That's all I want. And if you know me, I love pop punk. Like that's my heart and soul. I am a big pop punk guy, like 100%. This is not that.
Wow.
This is a mixture between everything that I love and just music. It's so much fun to write for this. I was angry, I was fun, I was passionate to write this music out the way I did, and to have Raph kind of guide me the way that the vocals should go. Like I can write great music. I'm a good lyricist. Good. He toned me a little bit to like start taming my voice to go high and low and fast. Like a No Use for a Name, if you will, but like a little bit more soulful. Because I'm kind of a soul punk guy, but not the way Patrick
Yeah.
Stump is. Just different.
When you
And I found a rhythm, and that rhythm led to a lot of these songs. And they're passionate about current events, they're passionate about past events, and they make a staple towards relationships, abuse, everything. It just makes a stance.
I guess that was my next question. So when when you talk about how much passion is going into this writing, what are some of the topics or the substance that you're bringing to the table? Are we writing about like life experiences or things that you see right in front of you, or it's telling stories? Like, could you give us a little insight on that?
We got three versions. So one of them is always telling a story. I love to tell a story inside of a song.
Amen.
It feels like if you can wrap something up in 4 minutes, it feels like a movie. Ooh, man, you're talented. That's hard to do. Wrap something up in 4 minutes, it feels like a movie that you've played inside of your head. That's so much fun. But this next one has been just like, man, I've watched our society just kind of just come into turmoil with itself. Like all across the board. We're all fighting about something, or we're all agreeing on something, but there's not a lot of middle ground there. And I feel that's where a lot of compromise happens and humanity grows, is in that middle ground. So I wrote a lot of songs about that middle ground, about finding like which side you're on. And then the last one is I wrote a lot about just like the finding love of life, and just being happy. I don't think there's enough music out there about actually trying to find something that makes you happy.
Do you think when it comes to, especially when you're talking about being happy and, you know, uh, really taking advantage of the life you had a pretty big COVID scare this last year, if
Oh
I'm not
shit,
mistaken.
yeah. Oh man, that's a tough one for the house because my grandfather on my wife's side died a week before I went to the hospital.
Oh, jeez, I'm
So
sorry
she
to
was
hear that.
struck, and I gotta say she's the toughest person on this planet. She brings tears to my eyes when I think about how strong she is. Like she's super strong. And yeah, I'm telling you, if it wasn't for my wife, I wouldn't be here. Like not even my kids had the strength because they didn't even know. And that's a different story. But like they had no idea I was in the hospital and about to die. And my wife was just my anchor. She's like, get she was telling me like, get through this. Come on, you're better than that. So I went to the hospital with COVID and I was assisted with diverticulitis, which is where your pretty much your intestines can't do anything anymore.
Holy shit.
And so not only did I have these high fevers, but my intestines, my body's not working right at all. And it doesn't know what to do with the waste. So I'm just sitting here getting sicker and sicker. And I had a problem with breathing, just like the original COVID happened. Like you couldn't breathe right. But what happened was, and this 100%. I just was like, can you take me off this breathing machine? I don't want it no more. Just let me use the weird tube thing to push the ball up and I'll get my lungs up. So they took me off the nose, they took me off the ventilator, and I was like, I started breathing really good. I started breathing on my own and I just kept pushing that ball every day. I was like, I gotta push it further, further. And I pushed it to where I could breathe normally. And then the doctors come in one day after they took me off the nose one, and they're like, "Well, you're breathing fine." 2 days later, I was out of the hospital.
That's awesome.
But they
That's
predicted me to die within 3 days once I got there.
really. Do,
Yeah, I had a 50. So they gave me a 51% chance to die,
holy shit.
and I was like, "Nah, I'm good. Watch this."
Something about, I'm sure when those machines are helping you breathe, your body is slowly starting to give up on breathing on its own. So for you to, really step up and just push yourself, it, it's it sounds like something I wouldn't fucking do. I'll tell you that right now. But
I just, dude, every day I heard from my wife and like how sad she was, and I was like, I can't do this. And like sometimes at those end of ropes, I was like, and I was down like the fourth day I was there, I was down to like 60%. So they were pumping me with 40% oxygen,
oh my
which
god.
is like the bad end. It's the end. And I just told them I can't breathe with you pushing that air in my nose. I can't do it. And it took me 2 days to convince the doctors that I could breathe without it. And finally, one of the night nurses, she's my savior. She came in and just said, "You want to take it off? Take it off." And that was the night I started breathing 100% better. And I'm not claiming anything against the doctors. They were doing what they were supposed to, but
Yeah.
I took my own mask off and I started breathing better. And that's my story. I got out of there 2 days later. I got so strong after that because I was still doing the breathing thing and blowing the ball, and I don't know. I didn't want to be there no more. And it was either I go and die or I not be there no more. So I not be there no more.
There has to be just there's so much will behind you between the wife, the kids, the passion for music, You're not one to give up either.
That wrecked me so much on music too. When we left here, I told wife, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna come out here and do acoustic music." You know what? I got out here and I did nothing. I just worked. That's what I was doing. And I'm not saying that's bad because I got to start enjoying my life a little bit more because I was working so hard and then going out on the weekends and just going to the beaches and stuff like that. It's a different lifestyle, but it was for me. And now I'm coming back to the music and I'm ready to destroy, if you will.
Yeah. Just sometimes you need to step away from something to realize how much of a part of of your life it was.
100% on that, man. 100%.
Once something is gone, you don't value something till it's gone.
And I didn't. I didn't step. I stepped away from the scene gracefully, but then like I felt resentment when I was out in California. I was like, ah, but it was because I was watching my friends grow. I got to watch Perfect Sense grow. I got to watch a bunch of bands, Miles to Nowhere. I got to watch a bunch of bands that I grew up with playing in the same scene. Venomous Pinks. We played the same local shows, and now they're,
Huge.
where they're at. They're doing amazing. And I got to watch all these bands grow around me. And I got to sit in California watching these bands grow because I still stayed connected to the feed. I wasn't going to give that up.
Yeah.
And it was really awesome watching these people grow all around me, like all the bands that I got to watch. And you can't help but be like, oh, that sucks. But oh my God, they're doing so great. You feel a little resentment there, like I was talking about earlier, but you kind of grow up and give up on that. And you're like, oh, this is cool. And now I'm so proud of all the bands that have stuck around and are still doing it. You were included. Like, I got to watch Squared, Rundown, VP continue to make it with all these new bands coming out that are really good. Blotter Vision. Oh, where the hell
Blotter
did they come
Vision
from?
is so gnarly.
Dude,
They are
where the hell did
great,
they come
dude.
from?
Oh
There's
my gosh.
so many new bands that are coming out of the woodworks. Ninjas with Syringes. What? Led by one of our good friends in the punk scene. Dude, all this is just, it's the new age, and all of us old bands have to kind of survive and do our things.
For someone who has so much history and experience in our scene just alone, what would you tell someone that's new and up and coming? Well, if you had any advice, for someone's first show at Yucca, what would you say to them? Would you do
There's
anything?
two parts.
Oh, go for it.
There's mistakes made. I don't care how bad or good that band sounds. There's a reason that they're up there. And they are going to learn their own way on either how great they are or mistakes made. And it is not up to you. If you don't like the music, that's cool. You don't have to say anything. Go grab a drink from the bar, please. Don't say anything. Don't talk shit. If they're great, clap, applaud. If you like them, go talk to the band. But if you want to talk shit, just go keep that to yourself.
Yeah.
Second part to that is, if they're good, tell them, please. A lot of bands, they're self-conscious. We're humans. You know how hard it is to impress people
Huge
that
reason.
paid $20 to come to a show?
Huge reason why we do what we do. We write music about our insecurities half the time.
Yeah. So if they're good, tell them. Like, literally tell them. Don't like post it on the internet. Go tell them. You don't have to worry about posting it. They're going to continue to press their music, and then you can reshare that stuff. But tell them that they're good to their face. It goes a long way with us musicians to know that somebody actually cared or listened to the song, especially when they come with like, oh, that lyric was great. Oh my God. There's been so many times that I've been so humbled by people telling me like, dude, your music was just, it's what I needed tonight to like push on. Like, and it could be anything. You could have wrote a stupid drunk song and that's what they loved. But sometimes that right there is a musician's best friend, is to hear that story of like, hey, this helped me. Like this changed me. This, I can get to tomorrow because of this. And that's insane, dude. That's power.
Okay, two-part question. Is there anything that you can recall, or a time when you were on stage or playing where you left that stage maybe feeling discouraged? And if you did, if something comes to mind, how did you come out of it?
Oh yeah. So I was around when what, Big Fish Pub was around. So I was in the
Been a
end of
while.
days for Big Fish Pub, and
Yeah.
Guido is a good friend of mine, and he always trusted in me. He has given me every opportunity I've ever had when it comes to music, and I appreciate him a lot for that. And he probably won't hear this, but I hope someday he does, and he knows how much I appreciate him. Him and JT gave me my first chances as being a band. I played for Guido, opening myself and Ian at acoustic, just singing about dumb stuff. Like, it was the dumbest stuff ever, and I still love doing that. But there was a night, Catch the Fire had a promo release, and we had 5 songs on play. We had video up, and the whole night was really cool. I brought in a bunch of cool bands at Big Fish. And I just had too much fun, dude. Like the whole night. I was there from 6 o'clock from the time it started. I was drinking and partying with my friends, and I just had too much fun. And our set came on at 11, and we had to get set up and everything. And we had 15 minutes to set up, and we were the headliner of the show. And I sang the songs. It was a lot of fun. People had fun, but my band did not.
Oh, really?
I embarrassed them. I was too drunk. I was out of it. And I just embarrassed the whole thing. And it was supposed to be a great night for us, and I just took too much and did too much, and it was stupid. And there's a constant joke between me and Yvette, which is my old drummer, which is one of the best drummers I've ever played with in my lifetime. And I was bringing up her stuff and setting it on stage, and I was just yelling "Wilo" on the mic, and she's like, "Yeah," and she said it like 5 times, and then finally she's all, "What?" And I was like, "Sorry." And I realized at that time I was like, "Oh no, it's gonna be a bad night." And we played our songs. We had a great time. It was recorded, and I looked like a fool, and it shouldn't have been something I'd done. And I really do regret that time because that should have been a night to shine, and I turned it into a shit show.
So how did you bounce back from it? I mean, once you wake up, realize what happens, you're like, "Oh fuck." Then what? How do you
It
go about
it
like
kind of turned into a joke, but it wasn't a joke because my drummer knew what she was doing. She's like, "Don't do that again," and she didn't have to tell me not to do that again. I just knew after she said, "Hey," and I was like, "I got you." And the only way to bounce back from that is to learn from that mistake. So don't party from 6 o'clock on till your showtime. That's probably not a good time, especially when you're on at 11. Don't do that. But also learning to know your limits and know what you want to give to the crowd, because there's no way I give that crowd my full energy. No, there's no way that I gave them the performance that they deserved.
yeah.
And knowing that is where you're at, is like, just know that you didn't give the full performance that you should have, and those people paid to see you.
And I
Even if
think
they
when
got
you
in free, they used their time.
Yeah. And I think when you have that realization as a performer, you have just wasted these people's time. And it's a weekend. They worked all week, whatever it is, whether they pay to cover or not, they are using their time to see you. And you want to make it worth it. You want to make it so worth it so they come back and they want to continue to, spend time watching you or listening or whatever it is. But that it hits different. It hits different when you get off stage thinking you wasted somebody's time. It really does. If you're passionate about what we do, and it hits different. It hurts.
Yeah. Dude, that's a tough one. The disappointment's always going to be the next day. You're going to have a great time that night, but the next day you're going to wake up and be like, "Well, I can't recall what I did on stage." I think that's a performer's worst fear, is not recalling what you did on stage, because that's when you know you took too much
Yeah.
of whatever. You just know, like, you're like, "Uh-oh, I can't remember last night's show," and that hurts us too inside, because now we can't relive that moment. And every moment that we're on stage could be the next best moment.
Yeah, I've personally never had a moment where I forgot being on stage. Thank God. But as soon as I'm off and my gear is packed, I won't remember the next 2 or 3 bands maybe. Like I might get a little rowdy or something like that, or have a few too many. But it is like what was it? New Year's Eve we went on at 11:40, and
That's
so
a
we
late one.
played into midnight. Do you know how hard it was for me to like not be drunk up until then? That was
Right?
so hard, dude. I'm just like sipping. I probably sipped on 2 beers until I had to go on stage. And then towards like the end of my set, I think I did like 3 shots of Jameson, finished my set. I remember packing up my gear, feeling good. And then things get a little blurry after that for sure. But it there's a line you have to draw. This is a lot of fun, and a lot of it is associated with being the party animals that we are
It's
and being
true.
able to hang. But it's still our craft.
Yeah. It's kind of not a part of it by any means, because there's there's a lot of successful, totally
Very
sober,
true.
celibate bands that do amazing work. But one of the crafts is just like loosening up a little bit and getting out there and getting a little bit out of your comfort zone. That's always going to be a thing,
Absolutely true.
and that's not something we're going to stop or anything like that. And I am okay with people being the way that they are for the most part.
Yeah.
Let's go wild. Let's get a little crazy.
So aside
it
from
just
music,
it,
oh, go ahead.
in a band, you just got to know the line to not do.
Of
And
course.
it took me a long time to learn that. I actually learned that a little bit better with Becoming Legends. Is I was like, okay, I know what not to do here. I know my boundaries. I know, and you live and you kind of learn over the times too, like where you're at, what you can do, what you can perform at. Like you know
Yes.
your boundaries.
Yeah, which I'm really learning these past few years. That's for sure. So aside from all this music, you've done some streaming and whatnot. This is like another thing that you do as a performer.
I'm actually just I would consider myself a content creator. I don't necessarily need to stream or anything like that. I just like if I think it's going to be fun, I like to do it. And that includes like Halo, Call of Duty, things like that. I just like giving people like even videotaping my dog sometimes is entertaining to me. I was like, hey, somebody might like this. It seems like a fun thing to do, just sharing my life with, somebody that may not have that. So it's kind of stupid, but I like it and it's fun.
I
I like
love
being
it.
a content creator.
What is there anything that like drew you to being a content creator? Was it like reaching other people? Was it like content you came across that you just really enjoyed watching or
It was actually just streaming. I've always been entertained by that. I was like, whoa, somebody's going to take their life and what they're doing and playing and their frustrations and put it on camera for everybody to see. That's exactly what I do. That's music. So hey, I can do that. So that's the things I think about. It's like you're doing the same thing just in elongated format, and people do that, and it's really fun to watch. And I was like, hey, I would like to do that.
is there a certain culture like cuz like I know you're a huge Power Ranger guy, you know what I mean? And I know you love Halo and I can see you wearing like a Deadpool shirt. Like there has to be some culture that may have like is this where your content goes or where it's inspired from or things that you're into, these hobbies?
That actually came from just like not having the greatest growing up session, if you will. I feel like I'm being a kid again and watching these guys like Tim the Tatman and Nick Merckx and be these exuberant personalities. And Doc, he gets
Oh,
away with it. Like these
Doc,
guys
yeah.
get to be whoever the hell they want on stream and just show it to the world for 8 hours a day, and they make millions a year. That is incredible to me. I'm not jealous. I'm just like, that's awesome. They get to be whoever the hell they want to be and stream for people and put out entertainment. It's no less than a TV show. It's like watching your favorite stream movie over again. It's something wild, and that's intriguing in itself. Just being able to be who you are, and people are either going to like it or hate it. And when they hate it, it's even better monetarily, not necessarily like for a friendship, for like a community,
Yeah,
but like when they hate you, it's better because you make way more money.
there is something crazy about the common ground between what we do as musicians and then watching these streamers because what we're doing in both of these aspects essentially is being ourselves and trying to I don't know if you want to call it make a living but you want to be somebody by being yourself and it's a wild concept. It's super crazy.
It's hard because like we're only taught to be, and this is a very American culture thing. It's like we're taught to 9 to 5.
Yes.
Every one of us is taught to 9 to 5. That is our goal to have a great life. It's taught 9 to 5, but these people are starting to break free from that, and a lot of us are actually. Like I don't work a normal 9 to 5. I'm not saying I don't have a typical job. I kind of do, but I'm not a 9 to 5 guy, and I kind of get to be free and break free from that. And I know not everybody can do that, but we're taught that 9 to 5 is our normal. I wrote a song about this, living 9 to 5, and it sits here in my head. Is I don't ever want to do that. I do want to make money. I want to make sure my family's provided for. I want to make sure that I'm okay and that I can do the things that I want to do. But my end goal is not to work this 9 to 5 till I die.
Do you think you have to be a goal oriented person to do what we do? Like, do you constantly have to be, shooting for bigger, better goals being in bands, or is it something that just makes you feel better and you are just content with whatever happens? What did like do you see like something at the end of the tunnel, or do you just like walk through the tunnel and keep jamming?
That is a cool and tough question, my friend. That's a banger.
It's kind of something I've been stuck on personally. You know what I mean? Like, what do I want to do? Do I want to be the biggest band in the world? I'm like, I don't know if I want to be that, but I want to be jamming with my friends. And it's a weird line, you know?
You know, I think I came across this, and I think I'm not calling him out or anything like that. I think Aaron had some tough choices to go through. He was one of the deciding factors of becoming legend, like whether we wanted to pursue or not. And he was going through some stuff at the time, and he needed to pursue his work, and it was very important that he did that. But he didn't ditch everything because he's still in FOL and still played. So his priorities shifted to, instead of doing three things, I'm going to do two:
Right.
work and that. And there's nothing more than I could have wanted for him than that. He told me that, and I was like, hey, dude, you go do that because I understand this. So it's all about that driving wedge of like what you really, really want to do and what you need. Like sometimes our needs shift throughout the years. I'm sure all of us have hit a stint where we needed to work much harder because we took on a house payment, we took on a car payment, and we just can't do music 24/7 anymore.
Yeah.
And that's that line you have to choose. You got to choose like, okay, so can I balance this or do I got to give something up? And I think that part makes our choices for us. And I think it makes it much harder, especially for people that are very passionate. Sometimes they have to give that passion up for doing the actual work and putting the money towards their life. And that sucks because I don't think that's how that's supposed to be,
Yeah.
but it is the way it is right now. And I also believe that you have to work hard for what you want. So I think if we just think that it's just going to be given to us, it's a waste of time. And we have to work hard to get to where we're at. And I think that's one of the things that we forget a lot. And that's where I'm at, is I have to work hard to put forth effort to my music. So know this: if you get older, it's going to get harder. You ain't going to have as much time. Things are going to be taken up. You'll make excuses. That's the biggest one, is you make excuses for doing the thing you love. And I guess you can do that now in your older age or younger age. You just got to find what actually balances your life.
When you come across these revelations, I guess, on your music journey, realizing if you're being lazy or realizing where your priorities have to lie, or any of these that we've talked about, do these reflect in your parenting on your kids or anything like that?
I'll tell you this: I'm a very free spirit with my kids when it comes to parenting. I do understand discipline, and I do know when they need to be told, "Hey, don't do that crap." But I'd rather sit down and converse and talk and just have a good time. Um, any parent out there, I recommend getting really high. Go and sit down with your kids. It will be a life changer, and you don't have to do it multiple times. Just do it once. They'll tell you all their fears. You'll tell them all their fears. It's a really cool gig, especially if they're in their teens. But like I listen, and I think that's one thing that sets me apart from a lot of parents is I just sit down and listen. I just want to hear their stories, why they're upset, why they did what they did, because nobody did that when I was a kid. That's not good. Go to juvie. That's not good. Pay a fine. Instead of like, oh, you probably shouldn't have done that, and here's why, and you can do this instead of just no. And that's a terrible 90s revelation from Payson, Arizona. In fact, that one, that's like punishment over teaching. And I just don't think that works too well.
That's awesome, man. That's a really good way of. I mean, I think that's something we all wanted as kids,
Right?
Instead of just hearing like you do bad, but like what's going on.
It's not explained for the most part. It's like you just did something bad. And then if they just contradict it with that's my way, that's definitely not the way to go about it. It's just not my style of parenting, so I don't do that.
Do you see yourself as, I mean, obviously your dad, but you as a musician, do you see your musician self having a big influence on your kids?
Yes and no. The things I sing about, they don't care about. It's more our age style understanding. It's like more when you get into your 20s and you're trying to decide between like what I'm going to do and what I believe in. So they don't relate to that, but they relate to the energy I bring. So I'm sitting here and I practice. So on a constant week, if my kids sit here, they would see me practice singing my own songs at least 2 hours a day.
Oh wow.
So I put in a lot of work for my music to make sure I can hit my notes. And like I said, Raf's pushed me to this point where I there's no return. I got to do this, or else I can't perform the music. So he's put me into practice mode, and my kids get to hear that, and then they go in there and start practicing their guitars. They both play guitars.
Oh really?
They both play together, and they both know more scales than I could ever know in my life.
That's awesome. So there's
And
definitely you definitely have some influence there for sure.
yeah, my daughter grabs my Taylor off the wall and just goes jams out. She's like, "I love your guitar more than mine," and she's got like some Ibanez, and my
Well, I mean,
son's got
of
a
course.
shitty Fender, and he plays the hell out of that, and he can't. His fingers get raw because Fender rubs your fingers raw. So they all play like we're all very much big musicians, and we all sing together and stuff like that. It's such a weird kumbaya moment, but you know, I didn't do that. They just wanted to be like me. They're like, my dad plays shows with no fear. Like when I go to a show, I have no fear.
Yeah, me
I have so
neither.
much confidence in playing that I show up and it's there.
My girlfriend asked me, she's like, "Are you excited for the show this Friday?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Do you get excited for shows anymore?" I'm like, "Listen, it's not that I'm not excited for the show. It's just that I know the excitement is up there. It's there. Like we're not going there right now, so I just have to live with that. I'm gonna have a beer and relax. But like, if you get me 10 minutes before we're going on, like, you ready to go on? I'm like, dude, fuck yeah, I'm ready to go on. Like, let's get hyped right now. I get super hyped. I don't get scared, but I get super, super hyped. I think that's from playing a bunch of sports and things
Yeah.
growing up. Playing football and wrestling. I think you just put the fear behind and turn it into something else.
Yeah. And like I haven't been scared in a long time to play a show. Even like my last show with Tartar Control and the last show that I played with the other band was like implants. Like I played with big bands and I wasn't scared. This one, I'm a little scared, man. And
Are
it's
you?
not because like I don't think I can do the job. It's like this music's good. What the fuck am I gonna do if people actually like this? Right? Like that's the terrifying moment. It's like, what's gonna happen when people actually like this?
That's awesome. Dude, I can't wait. I'm so excited for this Friday, man. I can't wait. It's been too long.
It's a stacked bill. It's just good timing. I guess I could leave it at that. Good timing.
Ladies and gentlemen, James of First Front, thank you for coming by, dude. Where can we find First Front? What are the links? Where do we find you?
Instagram is our main post right now because my friend Nick's holding it up. I'm trying to hold down the Facebook, but I'm super busy, so we're gonna keep just the Facebook and the Instagram right now. But we're gonna we're gonna release our demos after our show.
Oh,
We didn't want
nice.
to do them before, not to hurt anybody, but they're demos, and we want you to hear what we actually got before we release anything. That's why we've been putting them into our videos and stuff like that. But we are set to record coming into the next few months too, and like I said, we're just gonna do it right. We all of us are very picky. We want a guy at the helm that can push us the right way, and we got to find that dude, and that's a tough journey. So that's going to be our journey for the next few months, is finding a person that just hits everything that we want to record us. And then we're all very talented to release our own demo. So we're going to put that out there. It'll probably be on YouTube, but right now it's Instagram and Facebook.
Well, that's awesome, man. So it's just at First Front?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
And it's all one word, actually. Like, we finally got a band name that's at
Isn't that
First
the
Front
best?
or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
there's nobody else that has it, so I'm cool with it.
That is awesome, man. Well, hey, man, cheers. It is really, really good to see you. I will see you on Friday, all right, dude?
Hell yeah, my friend.
Let me drink
You
it.
take it easy. Have a great night.
You too, man. And thank you guys for checking out this episode of The Rundown with Silva. That's my man, James. I'm Tyler Silva, and we'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye-bye, everybody.
Yeah, the rundown with Silva, rundown.